Good morning, everyone, and welcome. My name is Xiomara Rodriguez, and I am the Communications Director for Discover Puerto Rico. Thank you for joining us this morning. On today's industry update, you will hear from Discover Puerto Rico's executive leadership team as they walk you through the latest information, travel industry trends, and upcoming projects and activations. Before we get started, I want to go over a few housekeeping items. Today's industry update will be translated simultaneously into Spanish. The slides used are available in Spanish in our industry portal, discoverpuertorico.com/industry, so you can download the presentation and follow along. In addition, this webinar is being recorded, and later this week, you will receive a link so you can replay at your convenience. La presentación del día de hoy tendrá subtítulos o closed captions en español. Si usted desea activar la función de subtítulos en español, oprima el botón etiquetado Closed Caption en la parte de abajo de su pantalla. Elija la opción que dice Show Subtitles para ver los subtítulos en español. Si desea ver el tracto completo de la traducción, puede seleccionar la función que dice View Full Transcript. En este momento le aparecerá en pantalla una pequeña encuesta. Por favor, seleccione su respuesta y déjenos saber si está utilizando o ha utilizado nuestros servicios de subtítulos o closed captions en español durante nuestros seminarios web. La presentación que utilizaremos el día de hoy está disponible en español y puede ser descargada desde nuestro portal, como dije, discoverpuertorico.com/industry. Además, el seminario web del día de hoy está siendo grabado y más tarde esta semana recibirán un enlace para que puedan repasar el contenido a su conveniencia. Lastly, after the presentation, we will have time for a Q&A, but feel free to send your questions as we go. You can do so by using the Q&A feature, which is the bubble labeled Q&A at the bottom of your screen. During today's industry update, you'll hear from our CEO, Brad Dean, Research and Analytics Director, Alicia Valentine, Chief Marketing Officer, Leah Chandler, and Chief Sales Officer, Ed Carey. Now to get things started, I'll leave you with Discover Puerto Rico CEO, Mr. Brad Dean.
Saludos from your DMO, Discover Puerto Rico. We appreciate you taking time to join us today as we work together to accelerate the recovery that's underway throughout our island. While we're still feeling the impact of the pandemic and its recent variants, I'm encouraged by several positive signs. As you know all too well, the high season has been severely disrupted. 2021 started slow and ended slow, which of course means that we're facing yet another subpar high season. Nevertheless, the booking pace for the spring has improved substantially since the health and safety protocols were relaxed. Interest by professional meeting planners continues to grow. In fact, our group bookings have almost reached pre-pandemic levels, and the future sales pipeline looks very healthy. I'm proud to report we've landed several high-profile meetings that are coming to our island for the first time ever, and we're in the running for a few more. Add to this some very strong airline capacity figures in the spring and the summer, and it's clear that Puerto Rico is once again well-positioned to lead the Caribbean and our nation in tourism growth. Now, throughout the pandemic, and particularly in recent weeks, we have never stopped promoting Puerto Rico, no matter the circumstances around us. That's especially relevant today as we remain committed to growing your top line and your bottom line, regardless of what's happening with COVID. The research affirms that interest in future travel remains high. So it's essential that we maintain a consistent presence in front of consumers, travel advisors, and professional planners. Today, our team will share with you a number of activities underway to optimize our success in 2022. National television campaigns and national promotions like Sunshine to Spare are strategically designed to drive interest and visitation while elevating our national image to a much higher level than ever before. More advertising in more markets is expanding our reach, precisely when interest in travel is growing amongst COVID-weary travelers. The explosive growth we've seen recently in our digital marketing channels is proof the advertising is working. And add to this clever promotions like Pass the Pigskin and targeted activations, including premier food and wine festivals in Miami and Aspen, which are designed to help us stand out in a crowded and increasingly competitive marketplace. And of course, We refuse to step back from frequent in-person engagement with customers and clients. Despite the slow start to tourism in the first few weeks of this year, we've been running full speed ahead with dozens of online trips for travel media, influencers, and meeting planners. We've launched a very aggressive schedule of road trips, trade shows, and site visits, some of which we hope you'll be able to join us for. And of course, we're anxiously awaiting the largest gathering of professional meeting planners ever in the history of our island when Connect Marketplace arrives in late May. While 2022 has not started off the way you and I had hoped, I still remain optimistic. This year is going to be a year of growth and success for all of us. The team at your DMO is fully committed to doing everything within our power to promote, protect, and improve our island, its tourism industry, and your business. And once again, together, turning stumbling blocks into stepping stones. It's now my pleasure to turn the presentation over to our Director of Research and Analytics, Alicia Valentine.
Thank you, Brad. It is a relief to be seeing the numbers turn around after a disappointing start to the high season, but there's lots of reason for optimism now. When we reviewed the numbers last month, we didn't yet have the final metrics to close out 2021. We knew we had already surpassed the previous calendar year high for lodging revenues in October, so it was really just a matter of how high. But our data from STR and AirDNA show that 2021 surpassed 2019's previous high for lodging revenue by 36%, for a total of $1.3 billion for the year. And we know that the kinds of numbers that we saw for 2021 were unique to the industry. We've previously reviewed the U.S. Travel Association's recovery dashboard that has shown Puerto Rico to be leading other U.S. states and territories. But when we compare our performance against the rest of the Caribbean, on the next slide, it is evident that 2021 was a tremendous success. Typically, our hotel revenue per available room is on par with the rest of the Caribbean. But we certainly broke away from the pack last year, with RevPAR 51% higher than the region's average. And while the Omicron variant certainly put a strain on late December and January, the good news is that January's occupancy was running significantly higher than last year, when we were able to generate that record revenue. So this shows us weekly hotel occupancy for the month of January and the first week of February as the blue bar, with the green line as 2021 and yellow 2020. We know we were at a record-setting pace in early 2020 before COVID hit the US in March. So we're certainly not close to those levels, but we are ahead of where we were a year ago. And the numbers from Aerostar about passenger arrivals bear that out as well. The January year-over-year passenger arrivals make it pretty clear just how much improved this January was compared to 2021. Of course, it's not where we'd hoped to be or even where we thought we'd be before Omicron. But we've seen a turnaround in the booking pace in the last couple of weeks. Our data from TravelClick shows that as January began, Q1 hotel bookings were down 16% from the same point in time 2 years ago, with Q2 bookings nearly the same. However, as the month ended, bookings for Q1 were down only 9% from 2 years ago, and Q2 is currently booking 17% above that same period before COVID really became a worldwide concern. Notable, however, is that most of those losses in Q1 were due to January's occupancy, if we can go back, please, which was down 23% from 2 years ago. February is currently running only about 4% off that historic high, while March is booking 9% higher than 2 years ago. And the chart on the right shows us Q1 rental bookings were 23% below the same period 2 years ago at the beginning of January. But at the close of the month, rentals were booking 20% above 2 years ago for the remainder of the quarter. So this improved booking pace coincides with increasing air capacity to Puerto Rico. Airline Data Inc. shows that domestic air capacity for the remainder of this fiscal year has increased 10% from last year. A year we know saw historic passenger volume in 2 of those months. And these increases are attributable both to increased capacity from existing markets, especially from New York City, Orlando, Washington, D.C., and Hartford, Connecticut, but also in a new service for these months from Atlantic City, Austin, Jacksonville, and St. Louis. But in addition to domestic service, there was also increased capacity from international markets. And though international service still makes up less than 10% of the available seats in the coming 5 months, there has been a 91% increase in international seats from 2021. And this Airline Data Inc. shows that while 35% of the seats come from other parts of the Caribbean, most are from the 3 international markets of Colombia, Panama, and Spain. So all of these indicators point to a strong 2022, which makes it an exciting time to be marketing Puerto Rico. So I'll turn it over to Chief Marketing Officer Leah Chandler to walk through what's in the works.
Thanks, Alicia. Discover Puerto Rico and our creative agency, R&R Partners, have worked diligently in preparing to relaunch a brand campaign with the goal of claiming Puerto Rico's position as a premier travel destination, surpassing 2021 visitation revenue. Increasing ADR and attracting a more conscientious traveler to Puerto Rico. The brand campaign mission is really to change the way people think about Puerto Rico and redefine travel, differentiating between visiting and truly experiencing the island. This is about more than merely disrupting the category. Discover Puerto Rico is looking to actually create a new one. For the campaign to meet the objectives we've outlined, we must stand apart from the entire travel category in look, in feel, in content, and in context. The campaign will lead a conversation around a new era of immersive travel and a community of global travelers. And lastly, the campaign must drive demand by going beyond capturing more market share and actively growing our market share. Discover Puerto Rico has begun testing 3 concepts across 9 markets, including Miami, New York, San Juan, and others, for a total of 18 testing groups. The goal of testing is to understand which campaign performs the strongest at driving interest and visitation to the island amongst our target audience, including the diaspora. Production of the brand campaign is being led and managed by our internal multimedia team with the support and consultation of R&R Partners. This production will capture video and still assets that are necessary for the myriad of paid, earned, and owned assets for the campaign launch that will be later in April. We've added details of the new executive order, including vaccinated passengers arriving on domestic flights no longer need a negative test, and new capacity limits on events, restaurants, theaters, and bars. We continue to make sharing these guidelines with media and travelers a priority, including it in every pitch and interaction with journalists and displaying it very prominently on discoverpuertorico.com. Our pitching efforts around the executive orders have garnered 358 million impressions since January 1st this year. We've seen coverage of our protocols, the success of on-island vaccination, and the impact on travel with pieces in top-tier outlets such as Travel Weekly, The Washington Post, and Thrillist. And as Brad mentioned, in our ongoing efforts to bring Puerto Rico to travelers, we launched an activation to remind them that our island is always sunny and warm by creating an official color of the Puerto Rico sun. With the help of a Puerto Rican physicist and professor at the University of Puerto Rico, we measured and calculated the hue of the sun in Puerto Rico, which we then shared with the famous Pantone Color Institute to create a first-of-its-kind color inspired by Puerto Rican sunlight. With the goal of sharing our sunshine with consumers across the United States, we partnered with Eco's Paints, an eco-friendly, water-based paint that uses sustainable ingredients to create the limited edition Puerto Rico Sunshine Paint for those looking to incorporate a dose of tropical warmth into their lives. In addition to our mainland partners, we're also pairing up with local businesses to bring Puerto Rico sunshine to life by creating limited edition products. In the coming months, brands like Patina Cosmetics and Rogative will announce their very own Puerto Rico sunshine merchandise for everyone to have. a little bit of the island sunlight wherever they go. Our Puerto Rico sunshine doesn't stop with limited edition paint. We also partnered with world-renowned fashion designer COWAN to infuse Puerto Rico sunshine into his couture fashion show at this year's New York Fashion Week. Christian and his team visited the island before his show to pull inspiration from his trip into the groundbreaking design. Christian designed and created a dress inspired by Puerto Rico sunshine in our signature color. His creation made a big splash on the runway and showcased Puerto Rico at the fashion industry's biggest event. Puerto Rico sunshine will continue to make its way through the fashion world at this year's San Juan Moda, where Discover Puerto Rico will give 5 standout fashion students the opportunity to showcase their creations inspired by the island's sunlight at Puerto Rico's premier fashion week. And as an additional build to Sunshine to Spare and in honor of National Plan for Vacation Day, we partnered with JetBlue and Hyatt Regency Grand Reserve to give away a vacation to the island in an effort to encourage travelers to use their PTO days and plan a trip to the island. As a result of our Sunshine to Spare campaign, we've so far garnered 593 million impressions, inclusive of our press releases and the sweepstakes with coverage in outlets like Apartment Therapy, Travel and Leisure, and HGTV, not to mention over 23,000 entries into the Sunshine to Spare sweepstakes. This promotion was well received by our social audiences. To date, the posts have reached over 380,000 impressions and had 17,000 engagements. The sweepstakes also performed well, reaching over 178,000 impressions. Continuing with the orange theme, as you already know, this year's Super Bowl was between the Los Angeles Rams and the Cincinnati Bengals, whose primary orange color is very similar to the color of Puerto Rico sunshine. And we partnered with a local hotel to provide, Cincinnati was not only a Super Bowl contender, but also an emerging market for the destination. So we used our newsjacking strategy to insert Puerto Rico into the local news cycle around the big game. We identified a couple who was based in Cincinnati who decided to move up their wedding date to Super Bowl Sunday to celebrate their love and the Bengals. We surprised and delighted the couple with a honeymoon trip to the island, which they mentioned in their interviews with local and national news stations like Fox News. And as we all know, the Super Bowl is a huge platform that draws the attention of millions of Americans. The commercials surrounding it have come to fame and are just as much a spectacle as the game itself. While some brands spend over $6.5 million for a 30-second TV spot during the game, many others develop digital-only content that gets just as much attention. This year's themes were much more lighthearted than in the past, and this really inspired Discover Puerto Rico to create a special digital-only spot focused on Ruta de Lechon, called Pass the Pigskin, playing on the nickname for an actual football, pigskin, and one of our island signature dishes. We amplified the content using earned and social media, kicking off with pitching efforts targeting media niches. Through this scrappy campaign, we introduced thousands to delicious lechon in Puerto Rico, and we engaged in the major pop culture moment of the Super Bowl, which draws the attention, obviously, of millions of Americans. So to date, our video has reached over 175,000 impressions with posts by our social team and influencers who've been sharing the video. So if you haven't seen it, we're going to play that quickly for you now.
Far from frozen tundras and frostbit fingers. In 2022, the road to the big game is surrounded by palm trees and sun-kissed spectators. We find ourselves in a land where those who pass the pigskin are forever enshrined, and victory can quite literally be tasted. And if you're not hungry for it, don't pack your bags. But if you do pack them, remember this. bring some napkins because roast pork can be incredibly juicy. Wait, what did you think I was talking about? This isn't an ad about football. It's about actual pigskin. Deliciously roasted, crispy pigskin. The kind you can find on Puerto Rico's Pork Highway, or as the locals call it, La Ruta del Lechon! Here, everyone wins. And when someone asks you, heads or tails, the best possible answer is yes, please. Hungry? Good. Start planning your pigskin passing trip today at discoverpuertorico.com.
In planning for 2022, moving forward with other PR efforts, we're diving deeper into key mainland markets, beginning first with Miami to create stronger regional and local media relationships and more of a presence in the area. In Miami, we're hosting a media-only dinner at the Puerto Rican restaurant La Tacita with food prepared by Puerto Rican chef Mendine for 15 to 20 members of the local media and regional media, covering everything from travel to cuisine to the diaspora. And we're hosting our event in conjunction with the South Beach Food and Wine Festival. The event will be an interactive masterclass with Chef Mendine teaching how to make mofongo and, of course, our iconic pina colada. We're also continuing to tap into local partners to elevate our experiences by partnering with Rums of Puerto Rico to provide a selection of traditional Puerto Rican rums. This event is really just the beginning of our key market events, with more planned this year as we continue to expand our mainland footprint. Another way we're expanding our reach on the mainland is hosting media on the island to experience it for themselves. We're hosting a variety of trips to tap into niche target areas, including luxury travel, sustainability and ecotourism, family travel, and arts and culture, among others. We're also very excited to host media for the upcoming James Beard honorary dinner at Mario Pagan's La Central in the Distrito T-Mobile complex. Upcoming moments and events to leverage, such as wellness in the new year and cultural centric moments like the 500th anniversary of San Juan, are being pursued proactively to garner coverage that increases awareness and consideration. And to celebrate Frontier Airlines' growth in the Caribbean and Latin American markets, they spearheaded a campaign to underscore the plight of endangered animal species in 6 popular destinations the airline currently serves in the Caribbean region. Through a new contest and sweepstakes, voters are tasked with picking which endangered species will be featured on the tail of Frontier's new ultra-efficient Airbus aircraft. Puerto Rico's Coquí was the island's submission to the competition. Other participant destinations were Guatemala, Antigua, Costa Rica, the Bahamas, and Belize. Voting closed on February 14th, and all participants were entered for a chance to win a 7-night vacation to the destination where the animal they selected is from. So more to come on that. And we're continuing to see benefits from our partnership with Dick Clark's New Year's Rockin' Eve with Ryan Seacrest 2022 via the positive narrative that it created for the island in the new year. Within our case study, we've created a quick behind-the-scenes video of the event, so please enjoy a different side of this historic night if you haven't seen this yet.
Hey. Hey.
We received a request from the DMO letting us know that the Dick Clark people were interested in coming to Puerto Rico.
Live from Times Square, it's the biggest New Year's celebration in the world.
New Year's Rockin' Eve, which is celebrating its 50th year.
Tonight marks the 50th year of the show.
We wanted to start a new tradition, one that kicks off a whole new celebration. Actress and singer Rosalind Sanchez will be my co-host in Puerto Rico.
My team called me saying, you know what, Ross, I want you to co-host with Ryan Seacrest, Dick Clark production, the Times Square, the drop of the ball. And I was, well, what do you mean? Where, New York? No, they're doing it in Puerto Rico for the first time.
Where the clock strikes 12 in Times Square, and the folks in San Juan have another reason to celebrate, don't they, Rosalind?
Yes, indeed, Ryan. 2022 starts here in my home, Puerto Rico.
When it's live, anything can happen, you know, so it's nerve-wracking. So you have to stay relaxed and you have to know, I got this.
The ARP funds is a special fund that was created by the Congress of the United States. These funds cannot be used for other means other than activity in the economic sector related to tourism. So to put the ARP funds together with the Dick Clark production gave us an additional opportunity to let the world and Puerto Rico know that we have this new venue available to host this type of event. Having this event in Puerto Rico has a huge impact. If we were to buy all the time and all the coverage we've got, we'd be talking about millions and millions of dollars. The fact that we cannot have a live audience doesn't change the exposure that we'll still be getting out there.
What a great opportunity it is to host this nationally televised fiesta, to display our rich, vibrant culture and entertainment.
Seacrest says they've got something really cool this year.
First ever
Spanish countdown from Puerto Rico.
It's going to be a Spanish countdown. It's like, oh my God.
Puerto Rico has done tonight what Puerto Rico does best. Share our wonderful, vibrant culture with the world. We had our star rising.
Having Daddy Yankee perform here, having Rosalind Sanchez host, they're going to help us show the world how many things we have to offer.
I feel honored to be part of this great event, Dick Clark New Year's Eve, and we're going to have a great time. So make sure you tune in, because I'm bringing the Puerto Rican fire, the fuego, to the stage.
You know, people from all over the world, from all over the states, learn more about our music, beaches, food, culture. You know, it's almost like, it's like educating them a little bit.
Really exciting moment for the island. Hopefully you had a chance to tune in to some of that. So we're going to talk quickly about media. We implemented an aggressive media program in 2021 and are sharing today with you key highlights from last year. There were 4 campaign funding sources: our core budget, CARES Act, and CDBGDR Tranche 1 and Tranche 2. We had many firsts, including national print, spot TV, and we even expanded TV into new primary markets. For the year, Spot TV generated 351 million impressions, and we ended up with $1.9 million in bonus weight from that investment. When we were in market with Spot TV, we were able to tie a correlation to increased website visits in those markets. For Over the Top TV, we generated 112 million impressions and tracked over 186,000 website visits. Additionally, we exceeded all industry benchmarks for video completion rates. Our digital media program allowed us to pursue new partnerships with vendors like Afar, Condé Nast, and Undertone. We used social exposure to highlight key tentpole moments, generating over 151 million impressions. Native advertising drove over 250,000 engaged travelers to our website, and we had over 205 million video views. So how do all of those media KPIs translate into actual visitation to the island? Well, we're able to track hotel and flight bookings from our digital media exposure thanks to our partnership with Adara. For the year, we had a 256% return on investment and influenced nearly 40,000 flight bookings and 19,000 hotel bookings for a total revenue generation of nearly $20.7 million. And as we start 2022, we're going to build on that great momentum from last year. With American Rescue Plan funding, in addition to our core budget, we're investing in spot TV and cold weather markets to inspire visitation during the high season, and we'll leverage OTT and digital across our primary markets to gain incremental reach and awareness. The ARP budget will allow us to reach even more new markets for the first time ever. As we expand those media markets, we wanted to share with you quickly which markets and what media they're going to be receiving. New additions include Austin, Buffalo, Cincinnati, Cleveland, Columbus, Detroit, Indianapolis, Minneapolis, Nashville, San Antonio, and St. Louis. Our first spot TV flights for the quarter started on Monday, February 14th, and we're continuing our always-on OTT presence. We also have a national presence in place with our print plan focused on travel endemic titles and those that align with our conscientious traveler segment. Through learnings from last year's media program, we're of course optimizing everything in 2022. We've implemented dynamic search campaigns with Google, as well as image and lead extensions to improve our efficiency and share of voice on the platform. And through creative testing, we found that 15-second videos perform better on our paid social program, and we're now even going to be testing 6-second spots. Additionally, we're adding unique brand partnerships to the mix to add visibility, increase sentiment, and brand engagement. And on our website, we're seeing sessions and page views up. Both were up about 19% over January of last year. Since the website launched, we've had over 1.1 million referrals to tourism businesses and points of interest around the island. For 2021, the site had 11.8 million sessions, an increase of 167% compared to 2020. Page views were up 161%, and organic sessions were up 180%. Really importantly, we increased partner referrals by 224% over 2020. We also added 33 new articles, 7 landing pages, and 235 events to the site. And to support what we discussed earlier around Sunshine to Spare, we now have a landing page on our website where you can learn more about that activation. Additionally, we've added articles around camping and using coffee haciendas as event venues and for outdoor group activities. A program we launched in October 2021 is creating content on Google's new Visual Stories feature. These stories are custom content that are served by organic search. This allows us to engage with and speak to future travelers in an entirely new way. Since launch, we've had over 66,000 views and a 2-minute and 24-second average site duration. Another newly launched content program is Apple Guides. Puerto Rico is the first Caribbean destination that has published guides which are promoted to users as they search for things to do, directions, places or businesses that are related to our guides. Currently, we have 3 guides live on the platform with additional content in progress. And our current core MICE media plan is also producing really strong engagement, driving traffic to our site and producing leads. We currently have placements with LinkedIn, Sojourn, eProDirect, and several key print publications you can see here. Additionally, our advertising and engagement strategy on CVENT continues to produce leads for our sales team. 143 RFPs were generated in January, and not surprising to see a 258% year-over-year increase as vaccines were just starting to roll out in January 2021. Destinations International, IAEE, and PCMA have partnered together to launch Business Events Industry Week, March 23rd through the 25th. It's a week dedicated to uniting the global business events industry and reinforcing the power of business events to advance economies and social good. Our team will be there to participate in several events, including Destination Showcase, which is a one-day event that connects destination organizations with business event strategists so they can better understand how DMOs are key to making meetings and events successful. And finally, we'll once again participate in Global Meetings Industry Day with our partners at MPI, and will be featured prominently during their 12-hour virtual broadcast on April 7th. This event continues to be a great opportunity to gain exposure with meeting planners, learn important takeaways about the state of the industry, and also show our support of U.S. Travel's Meetings Mean Business initiative. And with that, I will turn it over to our Chief Sales Officer, Ed Carey, to share more.
Great. Thanks a lot, Leah. And good morning, everyone. I hope you're all doing well. You know, considering that restrictions seem to be loosening in many of our key markets, we're very anxious to understand how planners are feeling about moving ahead with their meetings agendas. So earlier this month, Rita Lopez and Beth Bushman from our sales team hosted a citywide planners roundtable for 6 key customers of Puerto Rico, and virtually all of them had either held events with us or in the process of considering the island. One of them included the planner from the Society for Critical Care Medicine, whom we all know had to go virtual due to the restrictions which were in place before the most recent executive order. So 50 hoteliers and DMCs from across the island joined in the discussion. And one of the most important takeaways from that event is that meeting planners truly want and really need to move forward with booking new events. In the words of Rick Calvert from the influential travel bloggers organization TBEX, quote, "We are not canceling any more meetings. They would rather deal with any protocols that are currently in place, obviously without risking safety, of course." And another important theme, I think, was that of building back together and remaining flexible on certain contract clauses. Planners are just quite simply unsure of their attendance numbers, and they need us to work with them as we all rebuild together. And I also think we learned that we can change the way we look at what were once considered obstacles. You know, we learned that some planners view transportation between hotels and the convention center as a way to network with people you may not meet otherwise. This made the prospect of using several hotels around our conference center less an issue and more of a potential opportunity. And this same sentiment can be seen all across the US with the most recent North Star Meeting Pulse survey. The latest poll confirms that planners are not only resilient, but they're feeling more confident than they had felt after earlier variants. In fact, the level of optimism more than doubled after the Omicron variant versus after the Delta surge. Nearly 80% of these planners will be producing their events in the next 6 months. They have to. This is significantly different than the way they felt in early December 2021, which is only 10 weeks ago. And part of this has to do, obviously, with the events that were rescheduled in the short term, but there certainly seems to be a true realization that the pandemic is becoming an endemic, and it could be with us for years. We just must keep moving. And it's interesting to note that while planners do believe that rising rates and limited flexibility are becoming more challenging, they're not fearful that their meetings budgets will be reduced or eliminated. You know, yes, the cost is an issue, and the fear of travel, airline service, company liability, other factors are in play. But overall, that fear that meeting budgets will be reduced has declined. In Puerto Rico, the number of booked room nights for the first half of the fiscal year versus 2019 are down by only 7%. That's much stronger than we're seeing in the industry overall. In the US, the average through November of 2021, and that's before the Omicron really hit us, was down by more than 20%. But even more importantly, we are seeing a healthy increase in the number of new leads being generated. New room nights generated in the first half of our fiscal year are up by 45%. On the mainland, these levels aren't expected until well into 2024. So if we can keep our booking conversion numbers as high as they currently are, we're going to be in a great position when planners really begin to move forward as the restrictions are further relaxed, and are confident that our numbers will exceed 2019 in the coming months. In terms of booking pace, we obviously took a substantial hit in January and February, but March through July are looking stronger. And this could give us time to leverage the use of the ARP funds to aggressively target more business opportunities and convert more of our existing pipeline. So far this fiscal year, the number of events being booked have been led by the sports, education, health and medical, finance and insurance, and arts and entertainment sectors. And the Midwest, the Mid-Atlantic, the Southeast, and Western regions are leading the pack. But we're also really encouraged to see more activity from the East Coast every day. Our pipeline of business has remained strong throughout. Potential room nights on the books currently sit at 480,000 rooms, which is 43% higher than it was in July of 2019. So all that said, we are going to aggressively hit the road in the coming months. From January through June, we'll be live at over 50 trade shows and multiple road shows throughout the US that you will be hearing more about in the coming weeks and months. And we're going to continue that pace and add more events throughout 2022. And as Brad mentioned earlier, we're working hard to secure multiple high-profile events that will put Puerto Rico on the map as a world-class meetings, incentive, and leisure destination. And these events will expose us to thousands of planners, influencers, and travel advisors throughout the coming 2 years and beyond. There are currently 12 fam trips planned between now and the end of June, covering all sectors of the industry. Many of you have been asking specifically about the events surrounding Connect Marketplace. So Joyce Mendez will be reaching out to participating hotels regarding a VIP fam trip that we're hosting in conjunction with Connect, as well as a hosted reception that we plan to host for 200 plus planners, on Monday, the May 23rd, which is currently an open night for those planners. And as I mentioned earlier, we will be out on the road at multiple road shows and events and are growing that list as we speak. We'll be reaching out to all of you shortly with a calendar of opportunities for those that wish to join us. And as you can see, we are also extremely active within the travel trade at both live and virtual events, and are also spending more time developing our key European and Latin American markets. So with that, I'll turn it back over to Ziamara.
Thank you, Ed, and thank you to the executive leadership team for providing such great information and insight. We will be answering any of your questions. If you have any, you can please go ahead and put them on the Q&A box at the bottom of your screen. And I do want to let you know that the Q&A piece will be in English only. We do not have closed captions for this portion. Also, as I mentioned earlier, the webinar is being recorded. So later this week, you will receive a link to a recording, which you can replay at your convenience or share it with colleagues who were not able to tune in today. If you have questions or need any additional information after the webinar, please send us a message at the email that you see on the screen. We will be very happy to assist you. A nuestros amigos que están utilizando nuestro servicio de traducción, no vamos a poder ofrecer la función de subtítulos en esta sección, así que la misma será solamente en inglés. También, como mencioné antes, este seminario web está siendo grabado y más tarde esta semana les haremos llegar el enlace con la grabación para que puedan repasar el contenido a su conveniencia o compartirlo con algún colega que no haya podido estar presente el día de hoy. Si al finalizar este seminario web tienen preguntas o necesitan información adicional, pueden enviarme un correo electrónico a la dirección que están viendo en pantalla y con gusto les asistiremos. I don't see that we have any questions on the screen. So if you have any, please go ahead and put them on the bubble. And in the meantime, I do want to remind you to sign up for our newsletter that gets out every Monday. That includes details and information on some of these activations that we shared today, but also other programs and opportunities that you can partner with your DMO. I don't see any questions here. So again, I want to thank you for tuning in today, and we'll see you on the next one. Have a great day.